Namaskar, kia ora. Welcome to Mumbai. Listen, it's been a great day today. We had a chance to spend time with the Chief Minister and also the Governor of Maharashtra. It's been really important for us because as we want to deepen and broaden the relationships across India, to have relationships here in the biggest state, the most economically powerful state, is really important for us as well. Of course, tonight's really special. We know we want to deepen this relationship. One of the key aspects of that will actually be making sure we've got more direct access between India and New Zealand. And that's why the announcement from Air New Zealand and Air India about wanting to work together on direct flights is really important. And also in the intervening period, actually, to make sure that we deepen up the code share arrangements means that we can do more tourism, more international education, more business connections, making it easier to connect our two great countries. So yeah, really exciting day today all round. With that, happy to take your questions.
There are some barriers in order to get those direct flights. Obviously, not happening until at least 2028 or around 2028. What can you do? What can the government do to make this happen?
Well, we'll do everything from our end to make sure air services agreements and the bureaucracy, essentially the legislation and bureaucracy behind it, actually is available very quickly. The key pacing item, as I understand it, is actually access to aircraft at the moment, but that will resolve itself. And so I know there's a lot of focus to do it. Yes, it's a few years away, but actually to actually build that route to make sure it's successful, we need to continue to market very strongly the tourism proposition here, the international education proposition here, and we provided lots of indirect flight options out of many of the Indian cities through Singapore, through Australia into New Zealand, and that's a really good way. It's an indirect way, but we've got to keep building up the traffic and the demand so that when that direct services start, they actually are going to be well supported from the beginning, and then they know that they're profitable, and of course that just leads to more services and more investment coming into tourism.
And just last month, Air India pulled its direct flight between Melbourne and India. What makes you certain that this is commercially viable and it will be a stable link for Kiwi?
Yeah, look, the traditional thing is really that tourism from India is up almost 130% pre-COVID, so it's one of those markets that has bounced back exceptionally well. And what you're trying to do, because of the big capital investment that the airlines will have around, those aircraft are expensive, there's hundreds of millions of dollars tied up in them. They need to make sure that the demand and the traffic is going to be there. And so it's quite normal to actually go from no services between two countries to what's called indirect services through code share arrangements, which are being expanded tonight as well with Singapore Airlines and in New Zealand. And then obviously building that traffic up so that there is actually demand that when those direct services come, they are profitable, they're sustainable, and therefore they're enduring, and then they continue to thicken up and continue to go forward from there. So all in all, this is really important. Yes, it's yes, we've got the pacing item, I guess, of access to aircraft, but we'll do everything from a government's point of view to make sure it's seamless, that nothing's getting stuck in any bureaucracy, that we work with the Indian government on any arrangements that are needed around air services or anything like that. We'll do that very, very quickly. But it's good news because we want to make sure there's connectivity between the two countries that enables those people-to-people links. When we have tourism and international education growing, that also leads to flows of trade and investment and capital that come on the back of that. And why are we doing that? Again, why are we here? We're here because we want to expand the economy, and that means we get money into Kiwis' pockets and we lift the collective living standards back at home. So, yeah, so it's a good move.
Can you explain what is New Zealand's position on India joining the nucleus flight?
Yeah, there is no change to our position at all. We will work with good faith, but working on the criteria and the framework that we've always had.
So the agreement signed, or the joint statement that came out after your meeting with India, seemed to suggest that there had been some sort of shift. What can we read into that language?
Our position is totally unchanged from the previous administrations that have come before mine. There's no change to our position. What we're committing to is continuing to work through the criteria of NSG membership and do that in good faith with India.
So has Labor jumped the gun when they put out their release accusing
Yes, sure.
So what specifically do you need to see from India in order to support that?
Well, it's about demonstrating an ability to, around non-proliferation is important to us. Disarmament is important to us. About nuclear in our national psyche, that's important to us. But we can still work our way through those issues with India, and we want to do that engagement in good faith, but understanding, there is no change to our position as Labor has tried to, say today.
If there was no change, why the need for the MOU?
Sorry?
If there was no change to the policy, what's the need for the MOU to be signed?
In the sense of the NSG?
Yeah.
Well, the statement around the NSG. All it is just acknowledging that that's an issue for India and New Zealand to continue to have engagement across. But it doesn't change our position. We continue to engage and talk about things and work our way through sensitive and difficult things, and we'll continue to do that.
Just back on direct travel, there is some
Sorry?
back on the
Yes,
direct
sorry.
flights. There is some criticism from Indians around the complexity of the visa process. Will you look at that?
Yeah, I mean, we're up for removing, as I say, the barnacles off the boat, and if that's one of the things that's frustrating access into New Zealand, we'll continue to look at those things. Obviously, there's quite a lot of, there's often multi-variables to what we've got to think about there when we get the position and the policy right. So there are, as you know, with risk with immigration from any country or visa settings from any place around the world, and so it's just, there will be considerations that we will have to balance and trade-offs that we may have to balance. But from our point of view, look, we're very open to trying to make sure that we don't have any friction or any impediments that are unnecessary that actually can be resolved. And you've seen our government take action and remove things that we think are getting in the way or slowing the show down, and we'll continue to look at that.
Is there a specific area you look at in terms of visas, particularly perhaps frequent flyers?
Well, there's a whole bunch of options and ways. There's been lots of discussion around, would you people who may have been before, would you make, what about multiple entry visas? The trick for me and my position on it is that I always want to look at how competitive our settings are relative to, say, Australia, the UK, Canada, other like-minded countries, and there's no reason for why New Zealand should be more difficult than another place and less competitive as a result. So we'll continue, as we've talked about with respect to other visa settings within the tourism sectors. We're looking at all of that right now.
Our settings are over-restricted in some cases.
I wouldn't say that. I really want to be able to benchmark our settings relative to other markets to make sure that they are competitive, and there is work that's ongoing that Erica Stanford and Louise are looking at to see what if there's anything that's outdated, not relevant, not necessary, complex, that we're comfortable with. Let's release it and let's get the show moving.
How are the energy levels, Prime Minister?
Great. I had to get caught up on a few things just before, so thank you again for your patience in delaying the media conference. But no, really good. I mean, this is a city that is amazing. I mean, I've came here probably in the late 90s, in my mid-20s, and just to see the progress that's happening here, it's infectious, and it's really encouraging to see what's happening.
Were there a couple of things that came up that weren't originally on the schedule that you had to deviate from? I just had to
get caught up on a few things, and that was that's all I was doing. But it's been pretty jam-packed, as you can see, and we've moved at quite a lot of pace. We had a really good session at the Indian Cinema Museum, and I had a chance to catch up also with some leading actors and directors here in India as well, and make the case to them that New Zealand is an awesome place to be shooting productions, and encouraging them to do more film production down at home as well.
It has been a pretty hectic schedule. I know that a number of your delegation are feeling it. Late nights, early starts, that kind of thing. Are you have had a busier itinerary than you had originally planned. Your Prime Minister Modi has spent more time with you. That's had to change things around. So are you feeling any effects of that?
I'm ready to go. It's just I have a lot of things coming at me, and I sometimes just needed a beat just to get caught up on a few papers and a few bit of reading. So but we're here and we're ready to go. We've got a great couple of events. Nothing you need to know. All pacing great. Energizer Bunny, ready to go. Love this.
Can I ask you about the Kapahaka delegation and the value and the role, I guess, that you see them playing on trips like that?
Oh, it's so special. It honestly is absolutely amazing to actually have what is world-leading cultural performances from our Kapahaka teams. And every time I've gone overseas, I've tried to take a Kapahaka team with me, because I actually think it really unlocks a lot of the relationship. It's an important part. People connect to New Zealand through it. They're really intrigued by it. And a place like this with a civilization that goes back thousands of years with incredible cultural richness, they have huge appreciation for our Kapahaka team. So I'm really excited because they're here with me, but they're also going to stay on and do a few other things as well. And I think that's really exciting. So anywhere I go, I try and have the Kapahaka team with me. I actually think it's really important, and I've seen the power of it in terms of being able to people connect to New Zealand in a different way. It makes New Zealand stand out in a different way. Again, a lot of what we're trying to do is get share of mind in these markets and register New Zealand with them.
What do you say to critics who argue that the Māori culture is valued more local stage as opposed to back home?
I disagree. Look at the investment we put into Te Matatini. Look at the success of it this year. We are big supporters of it. You know, we think it's really important, and I'm really proud of our investment in it. Yeah, cool. Okay, yes, sorry. We can give you the list. There was about 6 or 7. So it was just a really good conversation of actors, directors, producers, and some really lovely conversations actually about they'd all visited New Zealand. Some of them had made movies in New Zealand, and I was making the case very strongly for why they should make a lot more movies down there. So hopefully that will continue to happen. Okay, team, better go to the next one. Thanks, guys. See ya.